Hello and welcome to this new episode of Prep Set Go, proudly brought to you by RLA Polymers. In this video, we'll be looking at moisture barriers and specifically when used in flooring applications. We'll look at their importance, various scenarios for their use, discuss the different types, and provide tips for installation. So let's get straight into it. Moisture barriers play an important role and are a critical consideration for the longevity of flooring systems, as well as the health, safety, and general well-being of the home and its occupants. Moisture will wreak havoc on floor finishes left unchecked, so the installation of moisture barriers is a critical consideration. To truly appreciate the significance and requirement for moisture barriers, let's begin by understanding how water infiltrates substrates. The most common and obvious way is through rising damp. That's groundwater permeating through concrete slabs, often caused by defective below slab or perimeter moisture barriers, or through older slabs where a vapor barrier may have not been installed or has broken down. The severity of rising damp can vary based on a number of factors, including site drainage, groundwater levels, gradient of the site, and local climate. Rising damp manifests as damp spots or active water on concrete slabs. The presence of efflorescence or salt damp is another obvious sign of moisture entry. Other sources of moisture that has the potential to affect floor finishes is through residual moisture in the substrate. Moisture levels in new substrates are high initially and recede over time, but can fluctuate due to environmental conditions such as high humidity. So how can moisture directly affect your flooring system, and what are some of the obvious signs? These include the breakdown and re-emulsification of flooring adhesives, leading to delamination or lifting of the floor finish from the substrate, warping or cupping of timber floors, bubbling or blistering of vinyl sheet flooring as moisture vapor gasses out and tries to escape. Also, the growth of mold and mildew under carpet and vinyl finishes. The dark and damp environment provides perfect conditions for its growth and propagation. And this is always a major concern as it can directly affect the health and well-being of the building's occupants. So when should a moisture barrier be used? Flooring standards covering the installation of textile and resilient flooring systems are very clear on the requirement for moisture barriers, setting the parameters for acceptable substrate moisture content and water vapor transmission rates. These standards include AS 1884 for resilient flooring and AS 2455 for textile floor coverings. Each standard details testing methods to be used for measuring in-slab moisture prior to the installation of the flooring system, including ASTM F2170. This is the surface probe method, a destructive test that measures moisture levels deep down into the concrete substrate, and ASTM F1869, and this outlines water vapor transmission testing, which measures the rate in which water vapor escapes the slab. Around 75 to 80% relative humidity, or around 4 to 5% moisture content, is a threshold before a moisture barrier is required to be used. Of course, moisture barriers can be applied purely as long-term preventative or precautionary measures, regardless of current moisture levels. Now, to the different types of moisture barriers available. So there are two main types of moisture barriers used under flooring finishes, including sheet systems. These are flexible sheets made often of materials like polyethylene plastic. They are typically rolled out and installed on top of the concrete substrate before floating floor finishes such as laminate or vinyl plank is installed. And the second is liquid barriers. Liquid moisture barriers include two-part epoxy coatings and are applied directly onto concrete subfloor. They create a continuous seamless seal against moisture and are used for floor types that are typically adhesive fixed to the substrate, including timber and vinyl. So we've looked at the two different types of moisture barriers, the sheets and liquids. Here, we're going to concentrate on the liquid moisture barrier varieties. RLA's moisture barrier is a two-part water-based epoxy coating designed to provide moisture and vapor barrier properties. Applied to concrete surfaces in a couple of coats, it prevents rising damp and residual moisture that might be in the substrate to protect the overlaid flooring finishes. It comes in two parts, equally mixed, and basically just spread on by brush or roller onto the substrate. Here's some we mixed up earlier, so we'll show you how it's applied. It's basically applied just by brush or roller directly onto the substrate, and as I said, in a couple of coats. Goes on quite easily, just like a thin paint type coating. Just brushed evenly and neatly onto the surface. Allow it to dry between coats, and 24 hours later, you can apply the floor finish over the top. It's important to refer to the manufacturer's recommendations for the installation of the various moisture barriers. It's also important to refer to the actual flooring manufacturer's recommendations for the type of moisture barrier they recommend. Thank you for joining us today for our look at moisture barriers and the role they play in protecting your flooring system. Whether you're building a new home or renovating an existing space, it's crucial to consult with a professional and consider using a moisture barrier in order to preserve the integrity of your floor finish and prolong its lifespan, to create a safe and healthy indoor environment for occupants by preventing mould and mildew growth, and realising cost savings by not having to replace moisture-affected flooring and safeguarding your flooring investment. Remember, prevention today can save you a lot of headache tomorrow. Thanks again for joining us today, and we hope to see you next time. Goodbye.